What was your favorite birthday?
22 years old. I hired 3 clowns to go and drink with me and my friends around LA. Yeah, hands down. Well, at first it was just going to be one clown, and then he invited his clown buddies. There was Laffy Pants, who was kind of like a Ringling Circus clown. Rex the Impossible, who was kind of a Diamond Penny down on his luck clown. And then Golden Tulips, who was kind of like a sassy loudmouth clown. And the agreement between my friends and I was, we'll go out and drink with them, but none of us can acknowledge that they are clowns, or they have to pay the bill for the entire night. So we just bought them free drinks and had fun, and they were doing like tricks and stuff that we couldn't really acknowledge. And we brought them to this bar. I think it was Davy Wayne's or whatever it was in LA. And we had 3 clowns in there, and the manager came up and goes, "Hey, you guys gotta go, you gotta go." We were like, "Why? We're not doing anything, we're just drinking with clowns." And he goes, "No, you guys gotta go. You're killing the vibe," is what he told us, which was the most LA thing ever. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, we are the vibe. I brought 3 clowns to a bar. That's the vibe now. That's the vibe. And then Golden Tulips ended up knowing the manager, and I guess had maybe once, like, known him intimately. She got us another hour, but then they kicked us out, so we went to the jazz bar across the street, and they loved us. And that was probably my best birthday, yeah. My name is Cole Sprouse. A thunderous din after I say my name. I actually paid a guy to do that. To be honest, I can't remember the first thing I auditioned for. I was 8 months old when I started. I'm an identical twin, and so identical twins work really well in the industry when they're babies, because of child labor laws, exploiting those child labor laws. So they just switch us out, and then I just kept working. My first gig was a diaper commercial. I cannot find the diaper commercial, which is a shame. So anyone who's watching this, if you guys can find it, help me out. I was a baby, so I remember nothing from that age. But I do remember as time went on and I continued to act, eventually a kind of self-awareness kicked in, and I started to question the fact that I was working. But I always had seen the entertainment industry as more of a business pursuit than a passion pursuit. So it took me a while to redefine that to myself. We've switched places many times, but if you spend about an hour with my brother and I, it's quite easy to tell us apart. So we don't really get away with it too often. We actually do have identical voices. That's probably the most identical part about us. Even the intonation with which we speak and where we place a syllabic emphasis, and basically the entire way that we speak is identical. And that's probably the most identical part about us. First date. In the back of a hearse. This is a weird story. That's where I got my first kiss, too. Charlene. Strange name as well. Her father was an offbeat man. He was an avid Hot Wheels collector. But then he also owned a hearse. And he was part of, like, this hearse club. Which is probably where my dark sense of humor comes from. I must have been 7, and Charlene and I and her father went to this hearse gathering in like a park where he and his hearse buddies were there, and we sat in that area of the casket.
Okay.
And we pulled open the curtains and were making like scary ghoulish faces out the window to passing cars, which we thought was hilarious at the time, and I still think it's quite hilarious. And then we pecked on the lips, and it was just lightning in a bottle. Yeah, I got the kiss of death. I saw her for a little bit, but then we changed schools. I remember lamenting the falling of our relationship at 7 years old. Thinking, Charlene, hopeless romantic. I often found myself head over heels with the older women I was working with, which was strange. So much so that I couldn't look them in the eyes for certain scenes, which of course was a deeply upsetting thing to the director. I remember falling in love with the woman who played Adam Sandler's love interest in Big Daddy. That was the first one. Joey Lauren Adams. And then Jennifer Aniston, Friends, when I was working on that. I played Ross's son, Ben.
Oh, right, Ross's son.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in Big Daddy, I was 6. I couldn't explain why I was just infatuated at it because they were beautiful, of course, too. But, at 6, I didn't really have the greatest emotional connection to them. I decided to go to college for a couple reasons. One of them was to prove to myself that I could study another discipline, to socialize myself because I was pretty reclusive from the industry as a child, and to give myself a break from the entertainment industry. I'd worked for all 18 years of my life, so I hadn't really immersed myself into a greater social context. And I studied archaeology when I was in school, and I traveled around the world for that. And this is going to sound a bit more strange, but you develop a moral sickness when you're in front of camera for a long time. The act of performance is an incredible experience, and it's really nice. But the part of the industry that's fascinated with celebrity and idolatry and that part of the industry and the publicity and all that can be dangerously validating, especially for young men. And so I found myself needing to detox from a lot of that. I think when I was younger, there was a desperation to be perceived as mature, which a lot of child stars have. And many of us try to give the audience an image of our maturity through a couple ways, whether it's drug use or displays of sexuality or whatever it is. We try to show the audience that we are mature, that we're fully realized adults, or that we're, after puberty, we've gone through the same blah, blah, blah. But I had sort of figured that going to school would be another good way of showing that. Because after 4 years in an educational institution and a diploma, you'd done it. And I was fascinated with archaeology, and I had traveled the world doing that, and the lifestyle was beautiful and romantic, and I got to excavate real archaeological treasure, which was truly the most euphoric experience of my life. So I didn't really think of returning to acting at all. And then it sort of, the winds took me back. The first thing I did when I returned was Riverdale. I was done. But I said if I don't book something, I am not going to be returning. And I booked Riverdale. Restarting the career, I mean, that was it was certainly complicated. It was kind of like returning to an old lover. But as an adult, I had much more agency. I was in control of my own career. And I was able to bring a passion to it and redefine it from a business to a pursuit of passion, which was really special. And I also had no expectations. And then all of a sudden it became this kind of overnight success. Again, I had entered in with fresh eyes. The nature of the industry had changed quite a bit since I was on Disney Channel, because social media had become this incredibly prevalent thing for celebrity culture. And there was a much closer connection between an audience and a person of recognition, which was an interesting dynamic that I had never really had before. I had sort of stayed off social media for a long time, and I was never big on the selfies. It was a complicated return. I fell in love with it again. I questioned the nature of celebrity a lot, the celebrity culture outside of the act of performance. I tried to disguise myself. I had super long hair, a pubic mustache. In university, I had even longer hair. It was probably down here. I loved it. Yeah, it was comforting. I kept eating it by accident. Favorite Halloween costume? When we were super young, we were like matching costumes, not by choice, which is horrible. But my favorite costume I had built for myself in college. It was much more like a cosplay than it was a costume. But it was Link from The Legend of Zelda.
Really?
Which was one of my favorite games growing up, was Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. I was a Zelda fanatic. But I got real chainmail and a metal sword. Oh, the internet. I mean, come on. You can get anything on the internet, and definitely full chainmail. But then I also thought, like, I'll have full chainmail in case, the apocalypse hits and the water wars really start coming about, and you never know.
What's your secret skill? What are you good at that we'd be surprised to know you're good at besides archaeology, which is pretty surprising?
I can do the cherry stamp, but that's not like a secret skill. I think that was just something we did in elementary school to prove that we were good kissers. The secret skills, because I'm tied so into American culture now, I've found a way to monopolize and make money off.
So tell us about the essential oils. How did that start?
I just have a stupid Instagram bio, and I sort of I always think it's funny when people are like, oh, these essential oils, or like, your rising moon sign, or whatever the hell people in LA talk about. So I was like, that's me on Instagram. But before it was DM me your credit card info, which was shocking how many people sent me their credit card info.
You got people to send you their credit card information for essential oils.
Yeah, you want to make some money, kids?
You could have made a lot of money.
You want to make some money?